Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Trout Anglers. Today I have with me Daryl Bryerton.
How you doing, John?
Good. So where are you from, Daryl?
I live in a little small town in the Finger Lakes region in New York State called Monterey, just outside of Watkins Glen, Corning area. So a nice little small country place.
Nice. So who introduced you to fishing?
I mean, I've been fishing all my life. My grandparents owned a cottage on Oneida Lake here in New York. And every summer we would fish the lake. And then probably I was about 16 or 17, me and some buddies from school. One weekend we decided we were going to take a camping trip, and we went up north, up in like the Star Lake area, Governor, up in the Adirondacks. And one of my buddies brought a fly rod with him. That was the first time I've ever seen it. And he outfished us. It was crazy. And he let me try it. And ever since then, man, I'm hooked. I've been fishing that way now for the better part of probably 30 years.
So you're just a straight up fly fisherman?
For the most part, yeah. Unless I'm on a boat, trolling the lakes for trout and that, you pretty much catch me with a fly rod in my hand.
So I mean, I never fly fished before. I think it looks neat. To me, fly fishing, the way I look at it, is almost like an art. I mean, am I right or wrong?
Yeah, there's some skill involved, definitely. It's very rhythmic. It's like if you're familiar with music, like if you're a musician or anything, you know how they have counts for everything, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. For me, it's like a waltz. A waltz is 3 counts, so it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's how I cast. That's how I count it in my head, and it's worked for me. People might be like, yeah, that's kind of weird, but yeah, it works for me.
My luck here in the city, the way the creeks are in the city, I would spend more time when I cast back. I spend more time trying to get it out of the tree than I would trying to get a fish.
And hey, I've spent a lot of time climbing trees trying to get my flies out. It's not. You got to have room. You definitely have to have the room to do it. So
let me ask you, how old were you when your very first fishing trip, and who took you?
I was probably 6 or 7, maybe a little younger than that. And my dad actually took me. And I mean, I guess you could say that's how it all got started. But not a lot of memories of my dad. Him and my mom split up when I was younger. So, but yeah, I think he was the first one that actually took me out fishing, and it's just I love the outdoors. I love everything about it.
So were you guys just straight trout fishermen, or did you just pretty much fish for everything? Or
back then it was pretty much we fished for everything. And then once my addiction to trout, it didn't start until probably 1992. I graduated from high school here in Moravia, New York. And when I graduated, I wanted something different, new scenery. So I packed up everything and I drove out west. And that's when I really got introduced to fly fishing, was out in Montana. And I'll tell you what, man, from that day, that was it. I was over. I wouldn't fish for anything but.
It's funny you mentioned Montana, because my wife had got me into watching that movie with Kevin Costner. What's that TV series? Yellowstone. Yo, they look like some amazing trout waters, man.
I tell you what, man, when the place I had out there, it was on a ranch, and I could literally walk out my back door, walk through one of the fenced off fields, and throw a fly rod out there, and it was nothing for me to bring in a 3-4 pound rainbow.
Wow.
And just given, just there, take it, you're done. Yeah, amazing trout waters out there.
So prior to being a fly fisherman, what was your go-to bait?
For trout and that, when I would spin for them, believe it or not, we used a lot of corn. Corn seemed to be the go-to for us, when I was younger and before I got into fly fishing and all that. And worms, corn and worms, man, that seemed to do it for us. And of course, they're all stocked fish for the most part, but yeah, corn and worms.
I was fishing in one year. A lot of times I really don't fish here in Philadelphia, although I do have the creek around the corner. I usually go up to like Hellertown, PA, Percy area. A buddy of mine I known for a long time. We go up there and we take the kids. We watch March Madness the night before on TV. Morning time we get our donuts and we hit the creek. But
Right.
but anyway, he was big on mealy worms. He liked the mealworms.
Yep.
I was always a rooster tail guy. I love my rooster tails.
Rooster tails are good. I remember we used to use Panther Martin spinners too. Those work real well also.
So what kind of setup do you have?
I have a few different fly rods and reels. I have a 9-foot 7/8 weight Okuma series. It's a Celios rod with a 7/8 weight SVL reel. That's for my bigger fish, salmon, steelhead. And then I have a TFO 5 weight with the matched TFO NXT black reel. And that I usually use for, just the dry fly fishing, nymphing around here. And I also have a custom made, I can't remember what blank it's built off of at the moment, but it's custom. Everything's custom built to my specs, right down to the orange and purple wrap. And that I fitted that with a TFO NXT 5-weight reel also. So those are my 3 go-tos. And then I still have my very first fly rod I bought back in the 90s. It's an old Shakespeare I got from Kmart. I still have that. But yeah, those would be my 3 go-tos.
You mentioned Kmart. Like when I was getting my son his first fishing rod, you want them to grow with something, you know what I mean? So I take him to Kmart and he looks at me and goes, Dad, you really ain't going to buy me this, are you? I said, dude, I said, you're just learning to trout fish anyway, just to get you used to casting, used to this and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to have a heart attack.
Yeah. He's like, oh, Dad's got to go spend $700, $800 on the rod and reel for me. Yeah.
That's when you get a separate credit card. It's called the hunting credit card or the fishing one that the wife don't see.
Absolutely. Just don't let them find out about that. We can edit this part out, right?
Oh God. Hey, so let me ask you this: are you a catch and release guy, or
I am. I definitely am catch and release. I believe that if I'm gonna spend the time to catch something nice and it makes me happy, I'll put it back and let somebody else catch it. However, I do probably 2 steelhead a year. I'll bring home. Usually a female. Because what I do is I bring her home for me for the eggs, because I cure the eggs and then net them up for steelhead season the following year. And then the meat I fillet out and I give the buddies of mine who they like to smoke them or whatever. So it doesn't go to waste. It's not like I'm just yanking them out of the river and then draining the eggs out of them and then throwing the rest away. So, but I figure 2 fish a year, I can live with that.
I didn't put that question down, but since you brought it up, I think that's a great question. So, most trout fishermen or just fishermen in general have their certain way how they like to, cook their fish. How do you go? What's your recipe? How do you make that perfect trout?
I don't, because I don't eat fish.
Neither do I.
I don't cook it. I take that back. I do eat fish fry at one of the local restaurants here in town. I do that, but as far as catching fish on my own, I don't eat it. I've never been able to find a way to make it to where I like it. Because to me, I mean, like stocked fish, they taste real. I don't know the word. They taste like pellets. The pellets they get fed at the hatchery. To me, they taste like pellets, and I could never find a recipe to make them taste better. I'm just not a big fish eater, I guess. So, and then I just always just catch and release.
Every year I go turkey hunting up in Equinox, PA. We stay in the other side of the border, New York, of Hancock, New York. And the Delaware River up there, I believe it's where the East and West branch meet.
Yep.
They have a trout fishing tournament there every year. Well, I knew nothing about it. I had some shoulder surgery, so I really couldn't shoot. And I hit the river along there. The guy's telling me, yeah, man, we got some trophy size trout, this and that. So let me tell you what, man, I had this trophy trout swimming around me, and I threw everything but dynamite at that thing, and he would not bite.
Yeah, there's so up where you're talking about, there's 4 different river systems. There's the East and West branch of the Delaware, and then there's the Willow Weemock, and then there's the infamous Beaver Kill. And then there's also, I'm going to butcher the name of it. I know I am. The Aeropus, I think. Somebody can correct me on that in the comments or whatever, but I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced. But yeah, there's the fishing up there is top notch. I mean, Roscoe, New York is, I don't know if it's self-proclaimed or not, but supposedly the trout capital of the U.S. And I mean, they've got the trout to prove it. I mean, there's some good fishing up that way or down that way.
Let me ask you this question. What would have been in your memory, what would have been your best day?
Oh man. So this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. Me and some buddies went to Plasky, New York. Right? You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, combat fishing at its finest up there. And we happened to catch the right day. We hooked up at the right spot. And we fished from 7 o'clock in the morning until probably 3 o'clock that afternoon. And I'm not kidding, John, by the end of the day, I was hoping to catch smaller fish because my arms hurt so much. I mean, it was probably no joke. It was probably a 50 fish day. And it was constant. One salmon after the other, one salmon after the other. And I mean, we're not talking, 6-7 pound salmon. Some of these salmon were up in the high 20s, low 30 pound range. And that was probably, quantity wise, that was probably my best day.
Yeah. It's funny when you mentioned that. I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm shaking my head crazy here. My cousin has been going up there for years, and he's been dying to get me up there. You do those drift boats, he says. You go out there and you do those. He said you could throw a piece of crap on a reel, and those salmon, especially when they're spawning, I mean, they're just going crazy up there.
Yeah, they're the salmon up there. They're when it comes that time of the year for them, when they're up in the river spawning, they're very aggressive. I mean, you're not gonna get them to feed on anything, but you drop something in front of their face, they don't like it. They're hitting it, and yeah, it can be a fun day. Definitely a good time.
So here's one for you. Every fishing trip's got to have some kind of folly, some kind of blunder. You know what I mean? What did Daryl experience out there? What happened to you?
So, all right, I had just started guiding up in Montana. I was a young kid, barely in my 20s, and we were fishing on, I want to say it was the Jefferson River, and I was all decked out in my nice new guide gear and everything else, and well, I had forgot to put spikes or corkers on my boots. Now I can get pretty slick on these rocks, and I was walking, and I was pointing out this little seam for this client to fish in, and unbeknownst to me, there was a nice little drop off right in front of me. And John, we hadn't been in the water 5 minutes. We were just starting out. We had 8 hours ahead of us, and I slipped on a small rock covered in algae or whatever, and I went underwater. Waders filled up. Oh man, waders filled up and about flipped me upside down. I'm paddling my butt off trying to get balance because it was just deep enough where I couldn't flat foot it. And I'm tippy toed. I'm very buoyant at this point because my chest waders had completely filled with water. And that would probably be my worst, my blunder. And it was awful. I troopered it out though. I got out of there and got everything off, and I just guided around the rest of the day in soaking wet clothes.
And the trout season, I mean, it's cold, especially in the morning time.
The water was probably 60 degrees, maybe a little bit higher, a little lower in spots, but yeah, but luckily it was a decent day out. It was probably mid 70s, low 80s. So, I wasn't freezing to death, but you're just uncomfortable and awkward the rest of the day, Yeah. And then you're supposed to be this, big Montana guide, guiding guys on trout fishing trips. And here I am swimming in the water. These guys were laughing. Once I was okay, it was over with, man. They picked on me the rest of the day. We laughed about it and all that. But yeah, that was probably the worst, most embarrassing anyway.
Yeah. So, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to, any of your fishing buds?
Nah, I'm good. But no, I do. My brother JC Bryerton, he's my fishing buddy now, and I'm trying to get him to get his PA license this year, and we'll show him how some good fishing down in PA has to do. So, yeah, we're getting it. Cool.
Daryl, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day. And you said you have another fisherman there, but you're a fishing gal, would you?
Yeah, come here. This little girl right here.
Hello.
She's my little fishing buddy. She helps me tie flies and stuff.
Very cool.
And,
very cool.
She's we're gonna pick her up a fly rod here for her birthday, I think.
Cool.
And get her out there and get her fly fishing. So
awesome. Well, happy birthday to you when that time comes.
July 4th, actually. She was born on July
4th. Baby.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And for everybody out there, just want to let you know, this is our first interview, and we're going to not only be interviewing people in the United States, but we also have a gentleman from Australia that's going to be coming on the show. So again, Daryl and your lovely daughter there, I want to thank you guys for taking time to come on there and fish, or come on and then talk about your fishing there experiences. And what does she have to say? Anything special for everybody?
You say anything? Nah, she's pretty reserved, pretty quiet. I appreciate it, John. Thanks for having me on the show and all that in the interview. It was a good time. I look forward to maybe meeting you up on the river somewhere.
Yeah, like I said, I do. I got turkey hunting coming up in May. We'll be up in Equinox, PA. So yeah, and well, as a matter of fact, I'll talk to my cousin about the Pulaski waters up there, and that would be a hell of a time to meet up.
Oh, absolutely, most definitely. Yeah, I would love to. Best times for that's probably October, November, and then it starts getting colder, but the steelhead start running up there in November. So yeah, it's kind of pick and choose what kind of weather you want to fish in.
Yeah. Well, you guys be safe out there on the waters, and I wish you guys the best of luck with this opening day.
Hey, I appreciate it, and good luck to you. And hey, stay safe, and I appreciate what you do.
Thank you, sir. You guys take care.
All right, bye, John.